Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. As you can see, our dashboard's getting very dashboardy. Super sexy. Had a meeting with Stuart last night. They are still in the process of making the platform, I think he calls it unbreakable, something like that. Anyway. Um, I think it's like anti-breakable. I don't know what the term is. But anyway, so point of the matter here is that we are moving forward. It is a holiday today. So happy Good Friday to everybody. Stock markets and broader equity markets and those kind of things are closed today. Going to be a holiday session basically through today and partial openings Monday. I think North America has opened up, but parts of Europe are closed. So it's going to be a very, very wonky next few days. In those environments, not a big surprise to see some pretty wild action in cryptocurrencies. And also, too, maybe a bit of position squaring since everything's basically closed for the next 3 or 4 days if all hell breaks loose, of course, because of this virus and pandemic through the weekend and things get worse. People are not going to be happy when markets open up Monday, Tuesday morning. So with that said, not a big surprise to see some position squaring. I think you can make the argument that without all of these international crises, a risk on assets on balance would be doing a little bit better. But given the uncertainty of the world, I can imagine somebody would be like, well, I was thinking about buying some Bitcoin into the halvening, and I heard that that's a good time to buy it ahead of that event, blah, blah, blah. I could easily see them saying right now, you know what, I'm going to just keep my money in my pocketbook. And maybe go buy another case or two of toilet paper just in case. And really, we have to sort of think about that kind of sentiment in the marketplace anytime, of course, we're risking our money. Are we coming into a kind of a heavy market with lack of new buying, or vice versa? Right? Our review video, the daily brief we did today being Friday. We have Colin on. Colin is a totally awesome trader unto himself, very reasoned gentleman. And his basic message was we're starting to fail on sort of medium-term time frames. So I can start thinking about locking in some hedges just in case this does happen to turn into a more structural top. To protect some long side exposure I have in various different crypto assets. If you are going to try and go that route, my strong suggestion is try and figure out what the beta is of your cryptocurrency relative to something like a Bitcoin, and then you'll have to weight your Bitcoin short exposure relative to whatever that beta is. Holiday weekend, quite a bit of uncertainty. Of course, this is, it's funny how like a month or so ago we were talking about this holiday weekend and the uncertainty around it. I do like to talk to you guys, I guess, just off of a little sort of pre-formatted screen here. Obviously, all these guys up here are all closed. Interesting to see how the oil really fell out of bed there late yesterday. So, should we see further weakness here going forward? I don't see why not. Interesting to see how the equities have calmed down a little bit. I think they could go a little bit higher here, but if that's it for the rally, so be it. Interesting how we never did have that breakdown of this flag bot setup on the bonds, and they finished the day relatively strong. But you can sort of see. Do I really want to take a bunch of risk being long crude heading into the weekend? No. Even a little bit of profit taking there in the stocks there heading into the end of Friday's session, or I guess yesterday's session. Do I really want to be heavily short bonds here? Because keep in mind they are the risk off, and if all hell breaks loose, these things will probably ratchet higher. And then lastly, of course, the gold. Interestingly enough, they did want to go long the gold, sort of more risk off kind of thinking, into that holiday weekend, fearing, all hell breaking loose through the weekend. So it's fascinating how the gold has broken out through this neckline here. And I don't know if it's straight line. Nobody ever does. But I don't see any reason why we can't ratchet up into 1900 area here on the gold, not too distant future. Interesting to see on the stocks that Russell 2000 here relative to the Dow is outperforming just over the short term. Is this a function of the whole sort of equity market reflating here? Tough to say. And of course, since this was a lower low, same message as yesterday. There hasn't really anything changed here. We want to start seeing W's for me to get really bullish of junior equities. I think I had mentioned it yesterday too. That Tupperware, Jesus, it just went nuts. So big shout out to some of our TRI SOF crew for jumping in on some of these W's. Beautiful trade, Big Rooster. You're the man. And I noticed here Kavarkinator's stock actually closed nice and strong. On a clothesline basis, the breakout here did close with a gap. So, I don't know whether I really want to chase that, but, W's are W's are W's. Actually, there's a cheeky little gap right down here at 35 cents. So, keep an eye on this stuff. You can see the volume breakout there on Leaf. And this one's been talked about recently in the community quite a bit. This TEUM. This is another one of David O's picks. Great pick, sir. Anyway, he seems to be relatively happy here in his longs. Notice the pot stocks, generally doing okay here, but, no major W's yet. Keeping a close eye. And actually, TRI got some fills here. So actually, TRI went and bought a little bit of this hut. Oh, and FYI, it's not really something that we can do anything about here today, of course. But I was exceedingly pleased to see that the Toronto Stock Exchange has actually listed a BTC fund that's basically like an ETF of Bitcoin. So huge shout out. And actually, they're using Gemini and the Winkledinkles. Imagine that as their custodian. But hats off to Canada. Great groundbreaker to get this exchange traded fund of Bitcoins off the ground. The irony of it all is usually they say these things, usually they IPO at really high prices, and you should try and buy them at about half of the IPO price. It's really cool if you go look at like Facebook and stuff like that. They all basically just fell in half. I was really interested in a bank stock recently. It's fallen basically in half. From its IPO level. On this kind of thing here, 11 and a half, probably this thing bases around like $5.50, $6. And then also too, if we think about my concerns about Bitcoin recently here, 7,000, 8,000, could it fall down to 3,000, 4,000 here? No problem. So that actually aligns nicely with that kind of thinking. And as soon as I start seeing some W's in this, I can actually start thinking about going and actually buying for my registered account, just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin in a government-sponsored registered account. Imagine that. And of course, all the Bitcoin bears go, "You're crazy, man. Why are you going to do that?" But the obviously the big thing I'm waiting there is I got to start seeing some W's, right? But good to see there are growing crypto proxies in the stock market. So, coming back to crypto and Bitcoin in particular, I think I had been talking to you guys recently. You just never know as a trader what's going to happen in this world. And that's why sometimes it's really handy just to trade sort of preset setups that have built-in rules. And then that way, a lot of the anxiety, oh my God, what's the market going to do? That kind of gets taken out of the equation. And I distinctly remember talking to you guys recently about how moves stopped to trailing level on this particular setup had been hit. So if we did start amming out here, then that would be problematic. And I had sort of said also too recently that, maybe we can W out here and away we go. Break down trend lines, all that kind of stuff. We had one low, two lows. Remember, we had a second low here, but that was busted by that, so he's gone. So two lows. Could we get a third low? And the answer, of course, is nope. No third low. So never really did anything through this other than, as I had sort of said before, for the site people and anybody who was playing longs, obviously you had to tighten things up when this failure occurred. Um, because it is a holiday weekend, I don't know whether it's in our best interest to get too wrapped up in extreme price movement. The Chicago boys, there's no way they're going to be left behind if this thing is going to like fall in half here. So, what does sort of our weekend look like? Because it is a holiday session, we need to respect the fact that the spreads have broken back down. We're back below backwardization. Interesting how Tether's emming out here, though. So this could maybe suggest that, hey, maybe we can do a bit of backfilling here now, because that was a pretty precipitous drop here in the spreads. But on the site through the daily brief, believe it or not, actually, I still like this Mountain Man level. I mean, that nothing's changed with this. Remember, we'd said the recent key lows were these candle body closes. That's the base. And notice this funny little tail right in here. We could easily come back down and trade down into that tail here. And if you changed it to a line chart, really, it would just be a higher high or a higher low. You can see we can come right back down into, what is that, 6,200 here. And nothing really massively structurally problem-ish, if you will, that's a mouthful, is developed. Little tight M, and as we had sort of said, off of those lower time frame bots, you might want to just hop off on some longs or maybe let them have some a little bit, lighten up the position, whatever. But I don't see any significant structural failure here just yet. If I look in the internals, starting to get a little concerned. So where do I want to take this? I was just going to show you what we're sort of on the site thinking about for the weekend, but I got to find the damn chart. I think it's over here. Yeah, here we are. So kind of thinking that, I'll do another show on Sunday. So we'll see how this plays out. But, two things I guess jumped out at me. Number one, we had a fairly substantial range here off of these kilos. This seems to be a pretty important pivot for the market. So I've used a fib study off of this base here. Back up top, there's 50% level, so we were sort of talking in daily brief. If you are short off of these, I like that as a price objective. Makes sense to me. And then, of course, reload zones. Remember I said these were key candle body lows. So if they're just bringing the market back down into these key candle body lows, where is support? Gee whiz, look, there's the reload zone. What a shock. So also, too, some trend lines off of those lows. You can see, key support is down here, right? And I might even argue that your sort of trading range is this downtrend line and this uptrend line, right in this big triangle here. I think I even said to you guys on YouTube, right, recently, what are you supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at you? So we got a pretty definitive close through these levels. You can see last time it was sort of like, do I want to? No, I'm going up. But here you can see, bam, boom, smash into that level. So I think this is pretty well defined. Also, too, I'd say that we probably can't start getting bullish again until this downtrend line's taken out. And if we sort of think, think head and shoulders, sort of what does a fractal look like? Is this a trading range that's being established? Notice this reference right here, if I'm not mistaken, is at 38.2. Where are we here? Boom. Boom. Yeah, 38.2. So, our rule, we should let 38.2s resolve themselves before making any grandiose decisions about where the market's going ultimately. As well, too, that just so happens to be the reload zone off of this range and these kilos. So, is it a surprise to us to see a fight going on here? Not really. Also, too, I know this is kind of funny, it's crazy, nutso. This M right here, if we chaos this fractal out, it basically said we should come down into these levels. And you can see there's a hell of a fight going on here. And then if we pull up things like momentum indicators, gee whiz, this move down here was on a higher momentum low. And you can also see RSIs trying to bottom out. We could probably also, let's go boom and boom. And what do we got here? Willie, what you doing, Willie? Willie is, ooh, look at that, minus 79.8. So Willie goes officially stupid at minus 80. So we're pretty darn close to being cleaned out here. So, I don't really like the look of this div. It's kind of sloppy, but you can see the railroad tracks here. Bang, bang. I think probably what ended up happening here is this is a liquidity event window, the beginning of trading. And interestingly enough, if it's really kind of like mechanical, going through sort of the how does North America wake up and start its day. So interesting that they had kind of set a bit of a trap there, and then with this railroad tracks, they're trying to bring her back. But our general rule, I mean, the railroad tracks itself, that's not a bad level to take, right? You got a pretty powerful reversal there and a pretty small risk window, and it is in a reload zone, and it is against key lows. Na levels. So really, should it surprise us that a trade, for traders got to trade, probably if we go down to like 15-minute. Look at that div coming in there. Oh boy. So, our rule would be to maybe just let this div confirm itself. Then if we see a nice W, you take the trade. Like I'd said, this fractal that I'd sort of put on here, head and shoulders, I do actually expect the, holiday weekend that we're probably going to be in this kind of crazy ass chop, chop, chop. And actually, they kind of started the weekend off with choppy, 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 screw all those kids over. And that's pretty much what I'm thinking for the weekend. Get ready. It's going to be choppy central. You can see internals are breaking down here. So this would be nothing more than some sort of sneaking in off of bottom end of the range, looking for a test of the top end of the range. And like I had said to begin the broadcast here with you guys, a lot of TRI, especially if we think horizontal support and resistance, a lot of TRIers are now saying, okay, well, I've now got a sort of hedging window that is opening up. If I look at that key high, I see reload zones, I see downtrend lines, I see an old uptrend line. In essence, if we can get back up into this window up here, all these 15-minuters, they'll be taking profits into that. But if we can get up into this window up in here, there's that old high, right? You can see there's a level developing up here right around, looks like somewhere between about 72 and 7,300. So that's what I see happening there. I hope those levels help you a little bit. I'm not overly impressed with this kind of divergence. I mean, it probably sets up like you see how this, actually, that wasn't even a div, was it? But, this kind of counter trend rally, this kind of counter trend rally. Could we have a counter trend rally back up into reload zones here over the next few days? Sure. Wouldn't shock me one bit. So, only other thing I want to say, and actually I did want to point this out because I thought this was so cool. We've been sort of walking you through this link trade here recently. What a great analogy of a trader's life. The irony of it all is if you don't have a trading plan with sort of preset, I do this, I do that, I do this when this happens, I do that when that happens, you'd look at this right here and you'd be like, oh, the sky's falling, I don't know what to do. We had some people that were like, just the plan kind of went out the window and they just arbitrarily made decisions. I'm going to sell it. Oh, I missed my level, and so now what do I do? Kind of thing. And keep in mind, at one point this morning, this candle was all down here. So the people that just sort of said, oh, fuck it, just dump it, when we were down here, they were feeling great. Now here we are right back up top. I mean, I don't know whether your particular levels were traded to, but this is the one main reason why I like trading setups, where you take the guesswork out of your trading. If you're going to buy this W, you just place your order at whatever. If you want to do this you can see we talked about the railroad tracks on ETH and Litecoin and Ethereum. You can see the same pattern here on this. This is Link. And 2 to 1s. And actually, it turns out this is like 2.5 to 1. Wow. Just have your order working at your 50% level. Market comes into your level. Ding, 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 ding. You ring the register. You look down at your account and you go, damn, booked a nice trade. And that's it. I mean, the irony of it all is once that's done, it's done. On to the next trade. Takes a lot of the emotional sort of anxiety about what do I do, especially, since the price of this thing was all the way down here earlier today. It takes a lot of that anxiety out of the equation if you just have preset sell levels. Don't have to sell it all, but if you had this preset sell level hit, you would have been filled 2 days ago, and all of yesterday, and today, I mean, a non-event, no big deal. And how ironic, price is sitting right at exactly your sell level right now. How ironic. So anyway, I thought this was such a great analogy because we literally put it right on the screen and it walked you through this. And I mean, sometimes the market does this, right? You never know what the cadence of these W's is. I'm sure there is some logic that we can try and figure out sometime to time this and know that this kind of explosive rally is going to happen here. But in this case, it was chunk, 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 done, Merry Christmas, on to the next trade. And in a weird sort of way, you don't get validated as a trader. It's just bang, 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 done. And it's like, okay, now what? And your brain doesn't get any big sort of, drug fix or anything on the event. So in a weird sort of way, the professional's kind of like, oh well, I just made money from trading. Oh well. So thought I'd leave off the video with this demonstration. I would basically say this setup is done, and there's really no need for us to even be watching this anymore. It's over. As I had said before, and some people are going to be like, yeah, but it could go to the moon. You don't have to sell it all. I mean, some people help, set this at 2, 2.5, in this case, to 1. Sell maybe half, 3/4 of the position, put your stop at scratch, and who knows where the hell the damn thing will take you. But the point of the matter here is that this is a win. It's now, the story's over. Let's now move on to the next setup. Okay, I think I'll leave the free video at that. I hope you got some value out of that today. Have yourselves a good holiday weekend. PMA for the win. Understand markets are thin here because most of the grown-ups are away. Also, a lot of anxiety about religious get-togethers over the weekend, and does this create a new sort of wave of corona? So I can understand why there's heightened anxiety around what's going on in the world right now. So play from a position of strength. Make sure to be stocked up on toilet paper. All the best, and bye for now.